I'm on a quest to find out everything there is to know about Stardew Valley. And to look outside the box, I'm hitting random page 10 times on the Stardew Valley Wiki to find out things I normally wouldn't learn. Let's discover 10 new facts on the second episode of Wiki Roulette. First up and starting simple, we have the Tropiclip. This hat can be purchased from the Hat Mouse for 1,000 gold after you upgrade your house the first time and receive the Moving Up achievement. The description says it's shaped like a little palm tree, but I'm not so sure I see it. It's not really my style, but it is one of the first hats most people will unlock. Our next page isn't combat, but it is everything you unlock as you level up the combat skill. Starting at level 1, the Sturdy Ring reduces the duration of debuff effects by 50%, and it's pretty cheap. I've never actually made one, but I probably will next time since the slow effect from slimes is deadly. The bug steak recipe is useful if you have extra bug meat lying around after hunting for ancient seeds. It'll give you a little extra health and energy to get through the day, though you may want to save your bug meat for wild bait. Level 2 unlocks life elixirs, which are good since they heal you fully regardless of how much health you have. It's kind of weird that you unlock them at level 2 since the ingredients are pretty late game. They used to heal health and energy, and honestly this was probably better because most of the time you want to heal well before you're on low health. At level 3, the Root Splatter is a wonderful buff of 3 attack for 5 minutes and 35 seconds, and it only costs a cave carrot and a winter root to cook. You can get carrots anywhere in the mines and winter roots on the frozen levels. This buff is actually better than it looks because each attack is 3 points of damage, which is huge early game. The Warrior Ring at level 4 is kind of a miss. It's really expensive to craft, and while the plus 10 attack for 5 seconds is good, it only happens 10% of the time after slaying a monster. Even with a load of extra luck, I can't see this being useful, unless you want to go for some sort of berserker build for the fun of it. Level 5 prompts us with our first decision to either become a fighter or a scout. There's nothing wrong with 10% more damage, and the 15 extra HP for fighter is a nice bonus. The 50% increase in crit chance for scout is on your base crit chance, so if you're sitting at 10%, it's now 15. Both are useful, but I tend to lean towards scout. The slime egg press can be a nice way to use up your extra slime, but slime hutches are not that useful in the base game, so it's more of a novelty. Plus, you won't get tiger egg slimes. Those have to be hunted for. You also unlock Oil of Garlic at level 6, and its effects of preventing enemies from spawning in the mines and stopping infestations in the Skull Cavern is good. But you really can't craft it until after year 2 when you unlock Garlic. And by year 2, I usually like to fight. Level 7's Ring of Yoba is pretty useless, because a 50% chance to live when you're at 15 health or lower is not somewhere you want to be. The Thorn Ring has some merit in a defensive build, as a way to do damage back to your attackers, but it also feels like kind of a novelty rather than being truly useful. That's because the less damage you receive, the less damage you do back. If only we could put one ring on each of our 10 fingers and 10 toes. Then I still probably wouldn't use either of these rings. If you've decided, hey, I don't care about how useful something is, I like slime ranching. You now have the slime incubator at level 8. But the big unlock is the explosive ammo. It's not too expensive, and it's the quickest way to blow things up in the mines. Just realize it has to contact a wall or monster before it'll explode, so it'll take some time to get used to. The next 2 levels are where it gets interesting. At 9, you get access to the Iridium Band, and if you weren't lucky enough to fish one up earlier, you're going to want one of these. It replaces your glowstone ring in providing light and magnetism with an added 10% damage bonus. It's a bit expensive to craft, but it's pretty much a must-have as one of your rings. And I'm just now finding out that Squid Ink Ravioli has an added buff that makes you immune from debuffs. That's super useful against putrid ghosts in the dangerous mines, because Nauseated stops you from healing. That can be a death sentence. And finally, level 10 gets you access to your second profession. If you went fighter, you can now become a brute and do 15% more damage multiplicatively. That means it stacks on your earlier 10%. Or if you really just want to mine, go defender for the extra 25 HP. For scouts, the acrobat ability cuts special move cooldown in half, which is most useful for hammer users. Combine that with the artful enchantment and you can do a slam attack every 1.5 seconds. Pretty insane. If you're using daggers, it cuts the jab skill down to 0.8 seconds, so you can basically use it as your main attack. Otherwise, Desperado doubles your critical strike damage, which is huge in a crit build. You'll probably one-shot everything when you crit. There's definitely some creative ways to use all these items and abilities, except probably the Ring of Yoba. That one's just bad. Whew, that was a lot of info, but pretty useful. Let's take a little breather with this Squid Hat. Pretty simple. If you get the max level prize at Squid Fest on Winter 13, you'll be rewarded with the cephalopod-themed headgear. It's pretty silly. But hey, you probably want the skill book, The Art of Crabbing, anyway, so you might as well pick this up too. Next, we randomized to a decal. Cow decal. It's furniture that hangs on your wall and is the 17th prize out of the prize machine. Once you have one, you can buy more from Marnie for 10,000 gold each. That's the same price as 6 2/3 real cows. But how did you get 2/3 of a cow? And there's no way that's good for that heifer. Truffle oil is a big moneymaker once you unlock pigs and can be obtained in one of 4 ways. Placing truffles in the oil maker, dropped from truffle crabs, purchased from the desert festival, or occasionally from the traveling cart. The main way is oil makers, and it takes 6 hours to produce and sells for 1,491 gold with the artisan profession. It's only used to make rain totems, which got nerfed in 1.6 since you can no longer chain lightning storms for big batteries. If you're going for an outlaw look, it can be used to make the dark bandana shirt. And as a final note, you'll need one for Lewis to complete the mayor's need quest, and he won't explain what it's for, but we all know what it's for. Gross, Lewis. Now that we're all greased up, consider subscribing so you don't miss any Wiki Roulette episodes. And leading us back to the tips, we now have the Crystal Path. It's one of the more expensive decorative paths, costing 1 refined quartz for 5 pieces. Since the 1.4 update, you can snag the recipe from Robin for 200 gold rather than 1,000, and it has a nice winter theme too. And I always felt like you move a little faster on paths, and it turns out there's a 0.1 speed boost on your farm for any path. It's not huge, but considering how much you move around, any speed up is worth it. Though, unless you're loaded, I'd probably use this as a decorative part of a larger path. I've only just started getting into multiplayer with some friends, but it turns out you get the option to space out their cabins when you generate the farm. That's a good idea if your friends like to mess with you, because at least it'll take them a little longer. And we got lucky this week, because next up is the man, the myth, the legend himself, ConcernedApe Eric Baroni. ConcernedApe is also the name of his company, and if you didn't know, he worked by himself from 2012 to 2019 as the sole developer of Stardew Valley. He placed every pixel, wrote each line of dialogue, built sound effects, and made all of the music we know and love. It's also his first ever professional game, and he spent his early years working on it with the support of his partner Amber. Since then, he's worked with a few other people, but it's still a really small team. ConcernedApe based the game after his love of Harvest Moon, the OG farming sim. His favorite characters are Robin and Mayor Lewis, and it's said he based Penny after Amber. If you set your favorite thing to ConcernedApe, you get a special dialogue during the star drop scene, and you should totally click on his face every time the game opens up. There's a 1 in 50 chance for a special effect. All I can say is, thank you ConcernedApe, for stealing 1,000 hours of my life, in the best way possible. He's also currently working on a new game, Haunted Chocolatier, and I can't wait to try it out. But we may be waiting for a while because the 1.6 update for the Switch has been causing a lot of problems.
I'm sorry.
Do not be sorry. Be better.
I'm just kidding, CA. You're amazing. Next up is the Hanging Shield. It can be bought from Robin for 500 gold, is found in the furniture catalog, and comes with the Wilderness Farm map. You could definitely make a cool D&D inspired room with this on the wall. And finally, we have the Pine Tree. You're going to cut down a ton of these while you're playing, and you're going to want to set up an orchard with them because they're the best tree to use with mushroom logs early since they provide chanterelles. Make sure to leave 8 squares around them or they won't grow. When tapped, they yield pine tar every 5 days or 2 days with a heavy tapper. You'll want pine tar for looms, speed grow, and rain totems, as well as one of the options for the exotic foraging bundle. Young pine trees have a 20% chance of growing 1 stage each day, which means it takes on average 24 days to mature, since there's 5 stages. So plant this orchard early, or use tree fertilizer to guarantee growth every day. When chopped down, you get 12 to 16 wood, and if you harvest on a lucky date with high foraging skill, you might get 4 bonus pieces. You'll also get sap and possibly pine cones to replant. I'd recommend cutting down the trees outside the farm map first because they respawn at stage 3 and grow from there. That should take only about 10 days for a full tree. Mature trees have a 5% chance of dropping a seed when shook and a 15% chance every night to plant 1 seed in the ground, so leaving a space around a tree can help multiply them. And that's 10 more pages. Check out one of these videos if you want more, and have a swell day.